is Real Life with Susan Harf. Thank you so much for joining us for tips and advice to help us navigate this crazy journey we're all on called life. And like you, I can't wait to hear what's on our mind today. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Rose. I'm happy to see you, and I'm also happy to see you as well. So I wanted to begin today with a question from a viewer, and it was about a previous topic that we did. The topic had to do with talking about I'm mad and I can't get over it. And what we discussed that day, if you remember, was that a lot of times when you think you're angry, what you are is really fearful.
Right, I was surprised at that because I was like, no, Susan, I think I'm still mad about this. And you're like drilling down and drilling down till we got to the point that it's, okay, what are you really fearful about?
Exactly. What's really going on, and what's really going on is we're fearful. So this viewer said, I watched I'm mad and you're really fearful. Once you figure out that what you are is really afraid, then what do you do next? And I appreciate you writing in and asking us that, because sometimes we can be even clearer and give more examples. So here's an example. If you believe you're angry at your teenager, when you walk by the child and he's laying on the couch and you know they have a test the next day, so you feel yourself getting burned up, you're getting angry because he should be studying for the test. And what you say is, I'm so mad, what are you doing? Why are you on the couch? And instead, what I want you to do is I want you to think about, I'm angry now, but am I willing not to be? And if that's the case, if I'm willing not to be, then what am I? Susan says I'm afraid. What am I afraid of? Well, if you think about it, you will come to, if you allow yourself to get in touch with, I'm really fearful, then you might say to the child, instead of coming down on the kid and saying, you're lazy, why are you not studying, why don't you ever study, and then it can really snowball into, I never see you studying, you don't take your work seriously, school seriously. That's not going to get you anywhere. If instead you were to say, I'm worried, I'm a little afraid, the child may say, what are you afraid of? Well, and even if they don't, I'm afraid that if you don't study for the test, it makes me concerned because, and what I'm afraid about is, my fear goes to, if he doesn't study for the test, he may fail the test. If he fails the test, he may not do well in that class. And what makes parents sometimes fearful is the ultimate extreme, which may not happen to you, and this is you talking to your child, that may not happen to you, the extreme, but the extreme for me is then you wouldn't get into a good college and you wouldn't have a great life. So you see, where I'm coming from with you is I don't think you're a bad kid. And these are things you don't necessarily have to say to the child, but believe me, if you walk by the child and you say, what are you doing that for? What are you on the couch for? Why aren't you studying? Why aren't you studying for the test? If you behave in those ways, it is like you're saying to the child that you don't believe in them, you don't believe they can do it, you think they're a good for nothing, you think they're lazy. That's not what you want to be with your child. That's not how you want to be, and that's not who you want to be. So instead, if you search within yourself, what bothers you about him not studying? And then you come to the real purpose of the feeling, which is, actually, I'm concerned, I'm worried. What am I worried about? I'm worried about the things that we just spoke about. I'm worried that maybe you won't do well, and that will transition into not doing well in life. I want you to have the best opportunity and the most opportunity that you can have. So again, you're able to turn that conversation around from you're lazy to I love you and I want the best for you. So the viewer asked me, what can you do about it? When you figure out you're not mad, you're concerned, afraid, fearful, allow yourself to go to where that extreme might end. And then what you share with the child is, I care about you, not you're lazy. That's two completely different messages.
Is there a difference when they get to that point of fear and being afraid to rationalize it in their own head to where this is an irrational fear, I shouldn't worry about this. Or I'm worried about this and I have a gut feeling about this, so I need to acknowledge it.
The latter.
Okay.
Because No, probably the only thing standing between you and jail for your child is, or
jail for the child?
Yeah. Sometimes parents think that the only thing that's standing between the child and jail is them.
Right.
So, no, I don't believe that's where we're going. I mean, I don't believe we're going to an extreme here, that the child isn't studying for one test and they're going to end up not getting into college. I don't believe that. But what I do believe is that fear is not rational. Fear-based thoughts are not intellectual. They're fear. They're an emotion. And so when we can get in touch with that emotion, it allows us to handle it in a more constructive way. So we don't have to go to the end. We don't have to say that you're going to go to jail if I don't take over here. No, that's not what I think. But what happens when we have fear is, you know as well as I do, when you have felt angry about something, all of a sudden you're getting all worked up, and the anger is, goes from your toes to your top of your head, and you're saying to yourself, why am I so angry? And is that really how I feel? Oftentimes it's not. How you really feel is afraid. And the reason that we don't tell the person that is because it does seem irrational. But we don't have to go to that extreme. So for instance, I'm afraid that he's not going to, if he doesn't study for the test, he's going to fail, and if he fails, he won't get into college, and if he doesn't get into college, he's not going to have a good job. Instead, we can sort of bring ourselves back and say, I'm concerned when I see you laying on the couch instead of studying for the test. I want you to do your very best.
So what would be the 3 tips for her? So she's realized that she's not angry, she's afraid, she's got the fear base. And so the top 3 things she should do at that moment are?
Tell yourself that you don't need to go to the extreme with this fear for yourself or the child, number 1. Number 2, say to the child how you're experiencing them in that moment and be honest with them. I'm concerned when you don't study for the test because, and thirdly, fill in the blank with why you are concerned. It's not enough to just say, I'm worried that you're not studying for the test. And say it in a way that really connotes how you feel, which is love. That's why you're afraid. You're afraid because you love this child. So that's what you need to let them know. I'm concerned when you don't study for the test because if you don't do well, it may have an impact on your overall grades.
I'm glad we started off this way today, and I'm so glad that people are writing in for a follow-up question.
Yeah, I am too. I really, really like that, and I want to take the opportunity sometimes to go back and revisit topics because sometimes we don't cover it all, and even if we do, if you're thinking about it afterwards, that makes us very happy. If you're watching and thinking about it afterwards, you may have another question, and this is one of those times. So I'm glad I could answer that for you. So today, moving on, I want to talk about another issue that is coming up a lot in my practice with folks as I speak to them, and that is a lot's changed since the pandemic. We both have talked about that, and it's changed for both of us and everyone we know. One of the things that has changed seemingly in the way we work is that there are a lot more people working from home now. There have been companies that have made the decision that they're not going back to their downtown office, or they're going to people are going to go to their offices once a week, and they're going to be working a lot more at home. I know that that's true for a lot of my colleagues and for myself, because a lot of my coaching is done by phone. So people are home now, and what does that mean relative to the way you work and the way you do your family? The times when people get in trouble, I believe, is when they haven't sufficiently assigned structure to their day. So for people who loved getting up and going to work, they're not doing that anymore. And so those same people are saying to me, I kind of, I don't miss the commute. I still talk to my colleagues by phone. That's not a problem. But I miss my life. My life isn't the same. I don't wear my clothes anymore. I wear my sweats. I don't see my friends. I talk to them on the phone. I do miss their presence. And things around the house are just not conducive to my work. And those are the things that people are saying to me.
And lines are getting blurry.
Yes.
The lines are blurry. Like, is it home? Is it work? Is it
Yeah.
playtime? Is it what time is it? And how do we navigate that?
Exactly. And the way we utilize our furniture is different. People have their things spread out, their work spread out on the dining room table.
And some are neater than others.
And some are neater than others. And you know, the other people with whom we live say things to us like, please pick up your computer and your stuff. I don't want it on the dining room table. And others are saying, but I'm just going to put it there the next day. Why do I have to take it, you know, clean it up? So there's all these conversations and some arguments, you know, going on and happening. I guess the first thing I want to say is structure in your day is a good thing. It is important that we delineate the places in our home that are work and the places that we use to relax. And I don't think they should be the same places.
But some people don't have an option. I mean, you might have to have the family room is the only place to set up, so you might have to do that. So I think what I would interpret that, what you're trying to say is have a switch, like almost have the switch of it's work or it's not.
That, and I think even in the smallest apartment and even in a situation where you have, you know, you're living with not only a spouse but possibly, you know, children, I still think there's a way to delineate workspace versus play space. So for instance, let's say everybody's in the family room. You can still have a table or a desk or a corner that is set up for you and is not a place for the kids to play, and it's not a place to put food, and it's not a place to put your latest project that you're working on. You know, let's say you're refinishing a cabinet. It's not a place to put the paint. You know, in other words, this is my workspace. Yeah. The only thing that should be on this table or this desk is my work.
How do you feel about people using bedrooms as workspaces?
When the desk is in the bedroom and that is part of your work, in other words, this is your workspace, but it happens to be in a larger room that's your bedroom, I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem. I shouldn't say I have a problem. I have seen my clients have a problem when they're doing work in bed, because bed is a place to relax and let it all go. Mm-hmm. And that really isn't the mode of work.
Right.
How can you be productive if you are reclining in your pajamas? I don't understand that.
Without taking a nap, without falling asleep.
Without falling asleep. And so, so I think that there definitely needs to be not only workspace, because that's your space and you don't want somebody invading it with the dog food or, you know, with whatever. I also think that the way we present to ourselves has to do with then how productive we are. So for instance, even if you're home all day, I don't recommend staying in your pajamas all day or your house coat. I don't at all. I think that what you need to do is have a structure to your day. If when you worked at an office, you got up, you exercised, you took a shower, that's what I want you to do now. And when you take, after your shower, I want you, you don't necessarily have to put on a suit if that's what you wear when you go to the office, but I don't want you to put pajamas back on. I want you to put on clothing so that if something, here's how you know if it's appropriate. If somebody knocked on the door, if your colleague came to the door to have a word with you, or somebody knocked on the door to hand you something related to work, would you feel comfortable answering the door?
Oh, that's good.
So if what you're wearing,
if your jammies are there, then it's probably not okay.
It's probably not okay. So the structure begins when you wake up. Some people like to meditate when they wake up. Some people like to eat first thing. Some people like to ease into the morning. Whatever you did before to ease into your day or start your day sharp, whatever that was, do it now. But what I am saying is, don't make the morning a time when instead of work, and you're supposed to be working from home, don't make it a time when you're not. Because if in fact you are answering the phone for personal calls, if you are, if you have a young child and you haven't arranged for childcare and you're taking care of your child, you're not working. So if that's the way you're going to spend your time, that's up to you, but don't call it work. Mm-hmm. So
What about the multitaskers who are saying, but I can switch those loads of laundry in between the times that I can take those calls, and then I'm able to have that working in the background while I'm still doing my job?
And I have no problem with that, and I do that.
The same thing like putting a casserole in the oven and let it cook for an hour.
I have no issues whatsoever with people doing that. And frankly, I think that's one of the benefits of working at home. Yes, you can throw in a load of laundry and it's not going to take away time from your work. No, but if instead you decide you're going to make a 5-course meal for company that you're having that night,
Right.
no, you're not doing your work. So
the other question I have is, with the blurry lines with everybody working from home, and if the kids are still getting educated at home, or if they're going to school and the work hours and home hours are different, how do those schedules play into making sure that they know work time, school time, homework time, or family time, it still all happens and is seamless?
That's a really great question. It's something I want to address, because the children are not going to be able to add that structure in, and they need it if you're not. So what I'm saying is, in the morning when you start your day like you did before, you go to the gym or you exercise at home or whatever, let's say you don't exercise first thing, you do whatever you do, and then you take your shower and you get ready for your day, and okay. Then whatever you need to do to start that day, you do. And then now, let's say you're used to being at the office by 8:30 or 9, that's the time when you need to start your work. If the children, let's say, go to school, they're doing their work. That's where they do their work. When they come home, they need to know, first of all, that your workspace is still your workspace. So if they arrive at home at 2:30 or 3 o'clock, your workday is not over. You need to then let everyone know, not then, but at a different time, you need to let your family know that since you're still working at your desk, you don't want to be interrupted at that point. That means that the children have to have appropriate care for you not to be interrupted. So if they are young enough where they need supervision, even though some people say to me, well, I have the babysitter for the infants, or I don't need a babysitter for a school-age child. Well, you do need something or someone or the child to be able to self-monitor, depending on how old they are, to make sure that they don't assume that because your body is there that you're available to them. That's very confusing for children. If you're there but you're not available to them, they need to know that. And you need to care about them enough and care about what they're doing enough to think about this ahead of time. So the plans still need to be made for your children when they come home from school, whether it's they're in an after-school program and they're not at home, whether they're at home and they are with, let's say, a teenager in the neighborhood who, I've had people tell me that they don't feel comfortable having a 14-year-old babysit for an infant. But you may feel comfortable if your child is, let's say, 6 or 7 and they're home from school. You may feel comfortable with a teenager, an older child coming over, and as a job, not for, yes, it's fun for them and your children, but this is a job. You look at it as, I'm hiring you for 2 hours to come and play games with my children, or play outside, or do whatever they're going to do, play in the basement or wherever the playroom is. The point is that don't assume that your children know that you're not accessible to them. And so that's especially true if you're in the same room. If you have an office at home, if you're fortunate enough to be able to have an office at home and you're working there, you need to, especially then, you need to make it clear to the children that this is not a time when you are available to them, and that they need to be with the person who's supervising them, or in some kind of program, or some sort of structured arena, either at home or somewhere else. So people say to me, at what age should kids be able to occupy themselves and to know that they don't need to interrupt the parent? I think when a child is approaching around the age of 7, they should be able to say, okay, I have 1 hour of TV today, or I have 1 hour of computer time, or I'm going to practice my instrument, or whatever sort of the rules are for your family. That is the time when I can do that, and when I know my parent is not accessible to me. Now, that does not mean if the child cuts their finger that they're not going to come into your office and say, "Dad, Mom, I just cut my finger." Of course not. Yes, you're available for that, for those kinds of concerns. But I want a snack. That child should be able to get the snack themselves.
Or have them pre-made already.
Have them
ready in the refrigerator.
Have them ready in the refrigerator. Again, these are all things that need to be discussed ahead of time.
I'm hearing routine, like
exactly.
Establish a routine, stick to the routine, then everyone kind of knows what it is, knows what to expect, and you can have a seamless, happy household during the day and after.
But the structure is even more important now than it was before because you're home.
Right.
Because you have distractions that you didn't have at the office. So people say to me all the time that what they do is when they finish a project at home, let's say they say to themselves, they know that they have two, I have a client who's an attorney. They have 2 briefs due. They've been working on these briefs for weeks. Friday's the day that they're both due. They finished one, and they say to themselves, now I'm going to go to the refrigerator and get a snack. Come back to my desk. I'm going to work on the second one and finish it. Again, I've been working on it all week. I'm going to finish it now. It's done. And then they take another break, another 5-10 minute break after that. These are things that you have to put in place being home that you didn't when you were at work because it was more natural. You had all of the things in place and all of the boundaries set for you. And so this is a time now when we have to set those boundaries for ourselves. And that includes, as I said, the children. You need to set boundaries for the kids. You need to set the boundaries for yourself. People say to me, well, I don't have time to exercise anymore because I'm home and just 1 hour leads into the next. That's why you have to act like you're going to work. You are going to work. It's just you're going upstairs or you're going downstairs or you're making a left in the house, but you're still going to work. And so your employer, believe you me, is counting on you to be doing the same amount of work. They're not expecting that because you're home, you're taking an hour off to watch a television program at 2 in the afternoon.
Well, and that self-regulation can be really tricky if you've not used to doing that. Like you said, if the structure was already pre-established for you, and all of a sudden you are self-regulating your time in your house along with all of the other things that are going around.
Yeah, and most of us, if you have a professional occupation, then there are structures that you put in for yourself at the workplace too. But the reason they were easier is because there was a workflow. There was a sense of, we need to get these kinds of things done before the afternoon because we're dealing with a different time zone, and we know that people are expecting this in California at a certain time, and so I need to get this done, at that point. Or I'm having a meeting with my clients or my colleagues at a certain time today, and I need this done. It's similar now, but not the same. A Zoom meeting is not the same as having everything in front of you and having everyone in front of you. A lot of times when you are going to a meeting, you need to make sure that you are leaving your office with every single thing you need for that meeting. When you're at home having that meeting, people get more sloppy. They think, well, that piece of the work is in another room. I'll just go get it. Well, if you're in a Zoom call, that's not appropriate to all of a sudden get up and go find something in the next room. So the point is that you need to set those boundaries for yourself, even being at home, especially because you're home. And so the time needs to be a boundary. The room, the space needs to be the boundary. So if at 9 o'clock you're used to being at work, that's the time you need to be sitting down at your desk doing work. That's not to say, I like to have breakfast at my desk. I did that when I was working in a different space outside my home. It does not mean that you can't do that. It just means that you need to be cognizant that when you're done with that, you do exactly what you did at the office, which is you're not running to the kitchen every 10 minutes. You sit at your desk and you stay there. People say to me, I've gained weight at home. The refrigerator's too close. Someone told me that they're very good at being socially distant when they're with someone, but they're not socially distant from the refrigerator. So people have said to me, they've gained all kinds of weight being home. I understand this, but The fact is that you can set those boundaries for yourself. During the morning, I'm going to be at my desk. I might eat breakfast at my desk, but that's it. I would, if I was at my downtown office, I would not be going to a refrigerator all morning long. So you're not going to do that at home either.
And it could even be beneficial to you because if, let's say you didn't like the structure before,
Yeah.
where you were in a particular workplace and you're like, man, if I could only decide for myself how I would negotiate my day, I could be so productive.
Exactly.
And now you have it.
I know so many people who spent like an hour in the morning talking about their weekend or talking about the night before with their colleagues. That drives me crazy. You know, as somebody who wants to be productive and I want my staff to be productive, I feel anxious and disappointed when people spend an hour talking about their night before.
Yeah.
That's way too long. That is, you know, saying how are you should take a couple minutes, not an hour. But the thing that I also want to make clear here, we're talking about setting these boundaries for ourselves. The thing I want to make clear is that your children are watching, and your children need to have those boundaries as well. So when they come home from school, if you haven't already set a schedule up, you need to. As far as, you know, some parents find that their children do better when they take a break after school. So you can have an hour of computer time or an hour of TV time right when you get home, and then you can do your homework. Some people find the opposite. Their children need to get it out of the way so that they can feel, you know, better about, you know, having a more leisurely evening. If that's your rule, that's fine. You know your child the best. But regardless of what it is, you got to have it. You have to have something that the time that the kids can rely on to know when I get home from work, when I get home from school, this is what's going to happen. If they've gone to an after-school program, whether, you know, whatever it is, if it happens to be a physical, you know, some sort of sports program that they may not need to then veg out in front of the computer or the TV when they get home. Maybe they can start their homework then. You know, again, it depends on the family, it depends on your schedule, it depends on who's all doing what, where, when. But the bottom line is there needs to be a schedule, and there needs to be something that the kids can count on. And the main thing about now that's different is that since you are home, you need to kind of have the conversations with your children ahead of time. So now, Dad and I are not going back to the office. What we're going to do is we're going to work from home. That means that when you're hungry for a snack at 3 o'clock, please don't whine. Please don't try and hang on me and say, there's nothing to eat, I don't know what to eat, I'm hungry, forget that. You are responsible to go to the refrigerator, get the snack. We already put it in there last night. You and I did it together. We made those cookies, or we have the cheese and crackers, or, you know, here's the fruit drawer. You know where that is, and go get it and have it yourself. I don't have any problem with people making, you know, people have all kinds of rules. Some people say, well, you know, I was on the phone with a client this morning, and she said, my child is, she said, if you're hearing things in the background, my child is getting his favorite snack, which is celery and peanut butter, and he's putting it together, and he's going to sit in front of the computer and have his snack. That's their rule. That's their thing. My point is, and that's a child that's going to school. They're not having morning session. They're starting later, so he's home for a couple of hours in the morning. So my point is, things have changed. Things have changed with school for children, and things have changed for adults. But we need to make sure that we have those kinds of boundaries set up, so that you don't get to the end of your day and you say, gee, I never took time to exercise. If you used to do it at the very beginning of your day or at the end of your day, that's what you need to do now. And so I expect that, to wrap this up, I expect that you are going to have a structured day, a productive day, time to relax in your day, time to, you know, I am not of the opinion that you need to go like an Energizer bunny with no break all day long. I think you need to have snacks. I think you need to have lunch. I think you need to take some time for that. That's when I look at my emails during lunch. That's when I see who's trying to get a hold of me. I think that, you know, those are all things that you build into your day, but make it clear to yourself, to your spouse, and to your children when are the times when I need to be alone because I'm working, and when are the times when I'm accessible to you, and when are the times when we as a family can be a family. I have had many clients say to me, but I don't have that kind of job. I got to take calls all day and all night. And I say to you, no one is that important that you don't have 1 or 2 hours, whether it's in the evening, whether it's during the day, when you are willing to shut off the phone or accept voicemail. You may have the phone on, but time when your kids, because if you're going to say to your children, you came home from school, and even though I'm physically present, I can't be accessible to you right now. If you're going to say that, then you better follow it up with, however, between 6 o'clock and the time you go to bed, I am with you. I am not taking calls. You are my priority. There needs to be a time of day when it's family time. There needs to be time when you're not taking calls and you're willing to suspend. Even if you're somebody who needs to, there are many jobs that depend on other people's schedules. You know, realtors tell me that they've got to show a house when the other people are home from their job, you know, home from work. And that's when they'd prefer to be with their family. If that's the case, then spend morning time with your family or spend late afternoon time with your family. There has to be a time when you and your spouse and the children are available to each other. And it's so important to do that now.
So I'm taking away that you've made it really clear what we need to do, and also the importance of the structure that we build in for ourselves, and that there is enough time. There is enough time to do all of the things you want to do, but you need to put it in priority and put it down. Exactly.
And make it clear.
Yeah.
Make it clear. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Special thanks. So isn't she awesome, you guys? Really, our favorite life coach. We're getting tips and tricks to navigate everything we can think about. If you've got an idea, reach out to Susan at reallife@blueridgepbs.org. And Susan and I will be happy to see you next time. And until then, go out and live your best life.